Emma Walsh pushed her cleaning cart down the empty hallway of Sterling and Associates, her yellow rubber gloves squeaking slightly against the handle. It was 10:30 on a Thursday night, and the law firm was silent except for the hum of the air conditioning and the distant sound of traffic from the street below. At 27, Emma had learned to find peace in these quiet hours. While her 7-year-old daughter Sophie slept safely at her neighbor Mrs. Chen's apartment, Emma cleaned offices for people who would never know her name. It wasn't the life she'd imagined when she was younger, but it was honest work that paid the bills and let her be there for Sophie during the day. Emma had blonde hair that she kept pulled back in a practical ponytail, a light blue polo shirt with the cleaning company's logo, and yellow gloves that had become like a second skin. She moved through the offices with practiced efficiency, emptying trash bins, dusting surfaces, vacuuming floors. Invisible labor that kept the world running while everyone else slept. Tonight, she'd saved the executive floor for last. The offices up here were bigger, fancier, with leather chairs and mahogany desks and walls lined with law books that probably cost more than her monthly rent. This floor always took longer because everything had to be perfect. These were the partners, the people whose names were on the building. She approached the corner office. The nameplate on the door read, James Sterling, Senior Partner. Emma had cleaned this office dozens of times but had never met the man who worked here. She'd seen his photo in the lobby, dark hair graying at the temples, serious expression, the look of someone who carried the weight of important decisions. But to Emma, he was just another office, another desk to dust, another trash bin to empty. She unlocked the door and pushed her cart inside, then stopped. Sitting in the middle of James Sterling's immaculate desk was a piece of pink construction paper, folded in half like a greeting card. It definitely hadn't been there when she'd cleaned 2 nights ago. Emma's heart started to race as recognition hit her like a punch to the stomach. She knew that paper. She'd bought that pack of construction paper at the dollar store 3 weeks ago so Sophie could make cards for her art project at school. With trembling hands, Emma picked up the card. On the front, in Sophie's careful 7-year-old handwriting and decorated with crayon drawings of flowers, it read, To the nice lawyer man. Emma's breath caught. No, please no. She opened the card, and tears immediately filled her eyes as she read her daughter's words. Dear nice lawyer man, my name is Sophie and I am 7. My mommy cleans your office at night. She works very hard. Last week I was sick and couldn't stay with Mrs. Chen, so Mommy had to bring me to work. I waited in the hall, but I saw your office and it looked like a castle in a fairy tale with all the books. Mommy says you help people with important problems. I have an important problem. My daddy left when I was a baby, and now Mommy works 3 jobs and she is always tired. She tries to smile, but sometimes I hear her cry at night when she thinks I'm sleeping. She says we are fine, but we are not fine. Can you help my mommy? She is the best mommy in the whole world. She reads to me every night, even when she is tired. She makes pancakes shaped like hearts on Sundays. She teaches me that being poor doesn't mean being bad, and that we should always be kind. I don't have money to pay you, but I can draw you pictures or help clean your office. Please help my mommy. She deserves to not be sad. Love, Sophie P.S. Mommy doesn't know I wrote this. Please don't tell her. She would be embarrassed. She has too much pride, my teacher says, but I think pride is good. Mommy says it means you believe you are worth something even when the world tries to tell you you're not. Emma collapsed into the leather chair, the letter clutched in her hands, sobbing as quietly as she could. Her brilliant, beautiful, heartbreaking daughter. Sophie must have snuck the letter into Emma's cleaning supplies and placed it on the desk last week when Emma had been forced to bring her along after. She'd recovered from her flu, but school was closed for a teacher workday. The shame was overwhelming. Not because Sophie had reached out for help, but because her 7-year-old daughter felt she needed to. Because Emma had failed to hide her struggles well enough. Because despite working herself to exhaustion, she still couldn't provide the life Sophie deserved. I'm guessing you're Sophie's mother. Emma's head snapped up. Standing in the doorway was James Sterling himself, in a navy suit without the jacket, white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. He looked different from his photo. Younger somehow, despite the gray hair. And his eyes, they weren't cold or judgmental. They were kind. I'm so sorry, Emma stammered, standing quickly and nearly knocking over the chair. I had no idea she did this. I'll throw it away. I'll resign from the cleaning company. I'm so sorry for the intrusion, Mr. Sterling. This is completely inappropriate. Please sit down, James said gently, walking into the office. And don't apologize. I found the letter 3 days ago. Emma's mind reeled. 3 days ago? I've been staying late, hoping I'd run into whoever cleans my office. I wanted to meet Sophie's mother. He gestured to the chair. Please sit. I think we should talk. Emma sat, clutching the letter, her yellow gloves absurd against the pink paper. James pulled another chair around and sat across from her, not behind his imposing desk, but next to her, like an equal. First, what's your name? Emma. Emma Walsh. Emma. Your daughter wrote me a letter that I haven't been able to stop thinking about for 3 days. She's remarkable. She's everything, Emma whispered. I can tell. The way she wrote about you, the love in every word. Do you know what struck me most? She said you taught her that being poor doesn't mean being bad. That's wisdom a lot of wealthy people never learn. Emma didn't know what to say. She'd expected anger, maybe pity. Not this. James leaned back, his expression thoughtful. Can I tell you something? 20 years ago, I was a single father working night shifts as a security guard while going to law school during the day. My wife had died in a car accident, leaving me with a 3-year-old son. I know what it's like to be exhausted all the time. To cry when your kid's asleep because you don't know how you're going to make it work. Emma looked up at him, seeing him differently now. Not as a powerful lawyer in an expensive suit, but as someone who understood. How did you make it? She asked quietly. Someone helped me. A law professor noticed I was falling asleep in class. Instead of reporting me or judging me, he asked why. When I told him, he helped me get a scholarship, connected me with affordable childcare, and gave me flexible hours as his research assistant. He saw me, Emma, not as a statistic or a struggling single parent, but as a person worth investing in. James stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. I made a promise to myself that if I ever had the means, I'd do the same for someone else. But you get successful and you get insulated. You stop seeing the people who make your life possible. The security guards, the cleaning staff, the people who keep your world running while you sleep. And then a 7-year-old girl writes you a letter that breaks your heart open and reminds you why you became a lawyer in the first place. He turned back to Emma. Not to make money or win cases, or see my name on a building, but to help people who need someone in their corner. Emma's tears were flowing freely now. I can't afford a lawyer, Mr. Sterling. Whatever Sophie thinks I need help with, I can't pay you. I'm not offering to be your lawyer, James said. I'm offering something different. How many jobs do you work? 3. Cleaning here 5 nights a week, waitressing at a diner 4 mornings a week, and weekend house cleaning for a private service. When do you sleep? When I can. And Sophie? She's with Mrs. Chen when I'm working. She's a good neighbor, but she's 78. I worry about imposing on her so much. James nodded, processing. Then he did something Emma didn't expect. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Margaret, sorry to call so late. I need you to clear my morning calendar. Actually, clear the whole day tomorrow. Something important has come up. He paused. No, everything's fine. Better than fine, actually. I'll explain tomorrow. He hung up and looked at Emma. Here's what I'd like to propose. Tomorrow you and Sophie come to my office during business hours. We're going to figure out what resources you qualify for that you're not accessing. There are programs, grants, assistance that a lot of people don't know about. I have a colleague who specializes in this. We're going to see what we can do to lighten your load. I can't afford pro bono, no charge. Consider it paying forward the help I received 20 years ago. Emma shook her head. I can't accept charity. It's not charity. It's investment. You're clearly a hard worker, dedicated to your daughter, and you've taught her values that are worth more than any bank account. Those are qualities worth investing in. Besides, Sophie offered to pay me in drawings. I'm thinking that's actually a pretty valuable currency. Despite everything, Emma laughed through her tears. She does love to draw. Then we have a deal. Your payment will be delivered in crayon on construction paper. I'll take it. The next day, Emma dressed Sophie in her best dress, a hand-me-down from a friend's daughter that Emma had carefully mended and cleaned until it looked almost new. She'd debated all night whether to tell Sophie about the letter, finally deciding her daughter deserved to know. "Am I in trouble?" Sophie had asked, her blue eyes wide with worry. "No, sweetheart. You're not in trouble. You were very brave. But next time you have worries about Mommy, talk to me first, okay? But you're always so tired, Mommy. I didn't want to make you more sad." Emma had held her daughter close, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. "You could never make me sad, Sophie. You're my whole world. But I'm the grown-up. It's my job to take care of you, not the other way around." Now they sat in James Sterling's office. Sophie's hand clasped tightly in Emma's. James had indeed cleared his schedule, and for the next 3 hours, he and his colleague Rebecca worked through Emma's situation with meticulous care. They discovered Emma qualified for several assistance programs she hadn't known about. They helped her apply for subsidized housing that would cut her rent by 40%. They connected her with a program that provided free after-school care for Sophie at a community center with homework help and activities. They found grants for Sophie's school expenses. And perhaps most importantly, Rebecca offered Emma a position at the firm. "We need a new office manager for our support staff," Rebecca explained. "It's day hours Monday through Friday, benefits included, salary that's triple what you're making now from all 3 jobs combined. You'd coordinate our cleaning crews, maintenance, and administrative support. Your work ethic is exactly what we need." Emma couldn't speak. She looked at Sophie, whose eyes were wide with hope, then at James, who was smiling. "Is this real?" Emma finally whispered. "It's real," James said. "But Emma, I need you to understand something. This isn't just us helping you. You have skills we genuinely need. Your daughter's letter showed me that our firm has been overlooking the people who make our work possible. We need someone who understands that world to help us do better. That's you." 3 months later, Emma had moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in a safe neighborhood. Sophie was thriving in her after-school program, where she'd made friends and discovered a love for art classes. Emma worked reasonable hours for the first time in years and actually slept at night. But the biggest change was internal. Emma had spent so long feeling invisible, feeling like her worth was measured by her struggle. James had shown her something different, that asking for help wasn't weakness, that accepting support wasn't charity, and that her value as a person had nothing to do with her bank balance. 6 months later, James asked Emma and Sophie to attend the firm's annual gala, a fancy charity event that raised money for legal services for underprivileged families. Emma hesitated, feeling out of place, but James insisted. At the gala, James stood to give a speech. Emma assumed it would be the typical appeal for donations, but instead, he held up a piece of pink construction paper. 6 months ago, he told the room of wealthy lawyers and donors, a 7-year-old girl wrote me a letter that changed my life. She reminded me why I became a lawyer. Not to win cases or make partner or see my name on a building, but to help people who need someone in their corner. He told their story, with Emma's permission, about Sophie's letter, about Emma's 3 jobs, about how easy it is to become invisible when you're struggling, about how a child's courage had opened his eyes to people he'd stopped seeing. "We've established a new program at Sterling & Associates," he concluded. "The Sophie Walsh Initiative. It provides legal services, resources, and support to working parents who are doing their best but need a hand up. Because everyone deserves someone in their corner, and sometimes it takes a 7-year-old to remind us of that." The room erupted in applause. Emma sat there, tears streaming down her face as Sophie squeezed her hand. "Did we help people, Mommy?" Sophie whispered. "Yes, baby. You helped people. You helped so many people." 2 years later, Emma was the director of the Sophie Walsh Initiative, which had helped over 300 families. She'd gone back to school, taking online classes toward a social work degree. Sophie was flourishing, still drawing pictures, still believing in the goodness of people, and James had become family. Not romantically, but something just as valuable. A mentor, a friend, someone who saw Emma's worth when she'd stopped seeing it herself. His son, now 23 and in law school, volunteered with the initiative. On the anniversary of the letter, Sophie made James a new card. This one said, "Thank you for seeing my mommy. Love, Sophie. P.S. She still has too much pride, but that's okay because now she knows she's worth something." James framed it and hung it in his office. right next to the original pink letter that had changed everything. Because sometimes the most important cases don't come through the front door with a retainer agreement. Sometimes they come written in crayon by a child who loved her mother enough to ask for help. Sometimes the most valuable legal work has nothing to do with contracts or courtrooms and everything to do with seeing people who've become invisible. And sometimes, a letter left on a desk by a 7-year-old is exactly the reminder we need that success without compassion is just an empty office with expensive furniture. Emma learned that pride isn't about refusing help. It's about believing you're worth helping. And Sophie taught them all that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is speak up for someone you love, even when you're just a kid with a pink piece of construction paper and a crayon. The letter changed 3 lives that night, but through the Sophie Walsh initiative, it would go on to change hundreds more, all because a little girl believed that everyone deserves someone in their corner, and a successful lawyer remembered what it felt like to need one. If this story reminded you that everyone has value regardless of their circumstances, please like, share, and subscribe. Comment below about someone who saw your worth when you couldn't see it yourself. We all need someone in our corner, and sometimes we get to be that person for someone else. That's how we change the world. One letter, one act of courage, one moment of compassion at a time.